Hi, I'm Bill Bland and this is 5 Minute Money. A lot of times I'm asked, how do you pay off a house quickly or more quickly? And because I have paid off a house before and it was great. For a couple of years I had no house payments, no car payments, no credit card payments. Then I got into buying and selling houses, and of course I ended up getting myself into debt again. But let me show you how to pay them off a little bit more quickly and have things work in your favor. We're going to start down here. We're going to say you have a house and you bought that house and you have a $100,000 mortgage on it, okay? For this piece of property right here. It's a beautiful piece of property, don't you think? Okay, for a $100,000 mortgage on it, we got a 30-year loan. So at the end, we're going to say if you have it for a 30-year loan and you've paid for it halfway, okay, how much do you still owe on this property? It's $100,000 to start. You've paid for 15 years, which is half of the total amount of the 30-year loan. How much do you still owe on this property? Would you be surprised that you still owe $85,000 on that? You've been paying for 15 years and you've literally only paid down $15,000, okay? This is because of compounded interest working against you. Years and years and years ago, it used to be a simple interest loan. Then it was compounded annually. Then it was compounded monthly. And then I believe it was '86, our wonderful Congress voted with the mortgage companies to allow those loans to be compounded daily against you. So every day, it's like a brand new debt with whatever interest is accrued. It is very hard to get ahead on these things by doing it the traditional way. Okay? So we're going to show you, what if you have a house, same house, it's not a $100,000 mortgage on it, it's a little bit more, but it's a $2,000 a month mortgage payment, okay? Is that unreasonable? Is that unheard of? In some parts of the country it seems like a gigantic amount. In other parts of the country it seems like, you know, are we only buying the garage? It seems very small. So it depends on where you're at. But a $2,000 a month payment, when you first get that loan, let me show you how you use that compounded interest in your favor. When you get a loan, and it's called a fully amortized loan, which means a little bit of principal and however much of interest it goes in every single payment. Is it front loaded with more interest, or is it front loaded with you get a lot of principal? Well, obviously it's front loaded with interest. And the reason is they want you to pay on this note, this whatever the amount of the note is, let's say it was $100,000, they want you to pay on it, say 7 years or so, okay? Because what happens every 7 years? We either refinance or we move statistically. But how much have you paid? If 15 years only bought you $15,000, would you be surprised that 7 years pays you less than $5,000 is paid towards your principal? Less than $5,000 in a 7-year period of time goes towards your principal. So, because it's all front-loaded with interest and very little principal, let me show you what we're going to do to try to make that work for us a little bit. Okay? So, if it's $2,000 a month payments, if that $2,000 payment consists of $1,990 of interest, okay, what's left on that? 10 bucks of that 2,000? So let's say $10 goes to reduce the principal balance that you owe, the amount you actually borrowed. But if you send in, like I said, about $150 more, you have bought yourself, on the back end of that loan, you have bought yourself about 6 months worth of $2,000 payments. So that $150, you bought yourself about $12,000 in savings. That $150, so instead of owing for 30 years, because you paid all those principal payments, if you did an amortization sheet, you would see that in however many, you'll get a loan. When you get your loan, you can ask for an amortization sheet, or it already comes with one. And it tells you Month 1, how much of it goes towards principal, how much of it goes towards interest. Month 2, how much of it goes towards principal, how much you see going forward. Pay some of that principal ahead of time, and you've bought all that time of borrowing money, which will save you that $12,000 on month 1. Okay? Month 1. You do that on month 2, month 3, month 4. That's how people take a 30-year mortgage and pay it off in 16 years. It's very dramatic how much money you can actually save. You just use the compounded interest against them. So instead of having that full amount of loan that is reborrowed almost every single month you have to make a payment, or actually every day because of the compounded interest, you're paying so much more of that principal, so you're taking months off the back end. Hopefully that's clear to you. But either way, you're saving $12,000 in your very first $150 payment. Let me show you something else just in case this is a little muddled for you. Okay. What I want to show you is that as each year goes on, from 1 to 30, what happens is, remember I showed you that in year 15, on that $100,000 deal, you still owed $85,000? Well, as the years get shorter, as you get closer to year 30, all of a sudden you're paying more principal and less interest, because all the interest is really front-loaded in your loan. So at each payment that continues to go further down, it's like a seesaw. You know, in the beginning, it's very interest heavy and very principal light. But as time goes on, they kind of change places and you become very principal heavy and very interest light. You know, to where in your last year, you're paying, $1,940 on a payment that all goes to principal, and $60 goes to interest. So we just want to accelerate that and get you to where you're paying off some more of that principal sooner, and it'll shorten your loan and actually save you months off of that loan. That months represents in dollars. 6 months at a $2,000 rate is $12,000. 12 months is going to save you $24,000. So that is a way to start accelerating your mortgage and getting out of debt that much faster. Because if you do it the way the bank wants you to do it, the average loan for $100,000, depending on the interest rate, you're paying back 2 and 3 times that amount that you're borrowing. And if it's a larger loan, you can see how dramatic that is, because it's every payment, every dollar you're paying out is hours that you had to work, things you had to do without of. And I want to see you live debt-free that much sooner so you can enjoy the fruits of your labor instead of making the banks rich. Anyway, this is 5 Minute Money. I'm Bill Bland, and I'll see you next time.